What's the nature of your emergency?
Welcome back to the Tactical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ashlie Walton, joined by Sergeant Walton. Clint, how are you?
I'm good.
You know, in this episode, I thought that we could talk a little bit about one of what I think is the most common and most damaging patterns in first responder marriages, and that is that the job, a lot of the times, will come through the front door uninvited, and the setting is basically this permanent residence in the relationship.
Yeah, I think when we start bringing our own, it could be frustration, could be stress, and you bring it home through that door on a regular basis, like it starts creating a separation. It starts creating this resentment between you as partners, and you start recognizing, or you need to start recognizing what is making that happen, and it's being able to shut it off. Like, I see so many officers on a regular basis, like, they identify as a cop first compared to just who they are as an individual.
Yeah, and not the schedule, not the missed events, not the financial strain, the emotional residue. So that short fuse that was not there 10 years ago, that shutdown that's happened before a real conversation can even start. And it's that distance that neither partner can choose, but that neither partner chose, but that both partners basically feel.
Yeah, because when you start, you bring that in through the front door every day you come home. You start, separating yourself. You're putting yourself on the island, because it could be where you're frustrated with yourself of what happened throughout the day, or you're holding on to. You fill in the blank here because of what is going on at work, whether it's the incidents you went to, or it could be an administrative issue as well.
Yeah, and the psychological concept is emotional spillover and stress crossover in first responder marriages. And emotional spillover basically happens when the stress, the dysregulation, that emotional residue from the domain of life, and in this case, your job, basically bleeds into one another. And the marriage and the home environment are impacted as a result. And for first responders, I think that this spillover, it's not occasional, it's chronic, it's cumulative. It's often invisible to the person that's doing it, because that transition between work and home has become so compressed that there's no meaningful separation between the two. And the stress crossover compounds this even further, because research actually shows that occupational stress does not just affect the person that's carrying it. It transfers to your partner. It elevates their cortisol levels. It disrupts their emotional regulation. And this can create a household environment that's shaped by your job and not just the person that's working.
And that's why when you start creating this separation between your work and home life, it takes work, it takes practice, it takes that, willingness to have that separation, to not be able to be able to decompress on your way home, to be able to let go of anything and everything that happened throughout the day. And it takes practice to do that. So once you start getting into that routine of it, you can completely shift that dynamic. I mean, ultimately, are there going to be things that follow you home that bug you? Absolutely. But it's learning as that's coming in, it's information. Okay, why is it affecting me this much today?
Last Friday we were talking about the impacts of your job as it relates to your children, but it's really important to understand how this might actually look in your day-to-day life. And for some people, they might arrive home already dysregulated before a single word is even spoken, or taking that frustration of the shift out on the safest available target, which a lot of the times is your spouse.
And it's not fair to them at all. And I think we fail to recognize that. And it's being able to have this understanding of, okay, I'm on my way home. How can I shift my perception from being in this cop mode, this high level responder, or just any first responder, being at this high level on a regular basis? How can I start winding this down and being in that sense of quiet when I get home?
Another thing too is I've seen people shutting down emotionally because the job that they just got back from basically got everything before home even got a turn. And it's important to just know when this is happening. And this could be anything from, hey baby, you want to go out to dinner tonight? No. My mom is inviting us over so that we can have a barbecue this weekend. Do you want to go? No. Like whatever the shutting down is for you, to just be able to recognize it.
Yeah. And when you start recognizing it and you start kind of diagnosing your own emotions, your feelings towards those situations, you can start addressing them. You can start adapting to them as, okay, why am I just saying no all the time? Like, am I tired?
You and I do a great job at, we call it our debriefing, right? Throughout the day, we will check in with one another in a way that we've mentioned it before. You'll text me, ask me if you can call me. I'm usually in the middle of something. So whenever I can, then I do. Or I'll text you something if we don't want to forget. We keep each other in the loop throughout the day, right? Probably 2 to 3 times a day. Nothing too much, although sometimes I have to tell you, like, is everything okay if it's like the 10th time that you're getting a hold of me?
That's because I'm lovesick and I just have to brief you on what's going on. There's so many exciting things.
But what I can say is that when you have come home, never once have I been able to dictate how your day was based on how your presence was the moment you came through the door.
Yeah, it's because having that that regulation, being able to, I could have had the worst day at work, but why would I want to bring that home and present that and say, I'm just miserable, so I'm going to be miserable? Like, it's one of those dynamics in those situations we start addressing, and being able to have those communications with your spouse, with your loved ones throughout the day is one, okay, if something bad happens, well, it's bad, but why am I going to let that affect my own well-being when it comes to it?
Now, the other side of this is that it's not always just on the first responder. So there, and life isn't perfect, and it's not that you don't have your bad days, and nobody is like that. But there are many times where you and I have had conversations where, and I think this just happened this week, if I'm not mistaken, the way you're presenting something to me, I can tell that things are not going the way that you wish they would. And so there are a lot of times where I'll call it out, right? Like you, Clint, you're sharing this with me and you're acting like it's the end of the world kind of thing. But like, let's take a look at the reality of things. And so we have these conversations because I don't want you to be, if I identify that you're in this negative loop right now, and then you're calling me, it's my intention to be as supportive as possible to you. And one way to do that is to help you to see things a little bit differently. Like, hey, you're acting this way and you usually act that way. And so what is it about this? And what do we need to talk through? How can we be supportive towards one another to be able to work through this?
And that's why it's so important to be able to have those conversations. And instead of, expressing your frustration or upset at an outside situation to your spouse, to your loved ones, it's supporting one another through those situations and saying, hey, let's work through this right now. Don't hold off. Don't postpone this. Like, let's get this done. And what is really going on with it?
There are a lot of ways to stop the job from ruining your marriage. But I think one of the most important things is to just recognize that your marriage deserves a version of you that has at least begun to decompress. And
I think what just came to my mind in when you said that is, When you first get married, you write your vows, you share your vows with one another. What in those vows that you vowed to your wife, to your husband, whoever it may be, are you not holding true to? And we made this promise, this commitment to one another. How can we express that towards one another and really uphold that value with it? Just like we swear in after the police academy, you make this commitment, you swear, you take this oath. Well, that is an oath, but your vows are an oath as well. How are we not holding true to those?
And something else that I think about, I don't know if it's because we're closing in on almost 20 years of marriage and, my dad's health and thinking of my mom, I don't think people recognize the enrichment of a marriage the further and further that the years tick on, right? Because you just made mention of like our vows to each other. But to me, another aspect of that is what you promised my parents when my dad gave you permission for my hand. Very traditional myself, the way that I was raised and grew up. But then adding another layer to that, then my mom not here, like that's another aspect. These are things that it's so easy to forget about when you have been married for such a long time. So I think too, telling your spouse where you're at, it's not a weakness. It's literally protection for the both of you. So if you walk in and you know that you're hot-headed still, tell them.
Have that. And it's such an important thing. It's like, I am so upset. I'm so frustrated right now, or I'm so feeling down. Like being able to articulate that to your loved ones and have your loved ones come back with you as how can we help you on that is great.
Yeah. And something about you and I, more so me, because you're like, oh, I'm so mad right now with this like smile on your face. For me, I'll just be like, Clint, this motherfucker, like I have no problem just like telling you whatever the thing is. And we have very open communication in that way. And I just think it's important. And if you don't have that now, find ways to be able to build it in a small way. I hope you've gotten some value out of today's episode. If you have, do us a favor, drop a review, subscribe down below. And as always, know that I'm sending you a long, tight hug from my home to yours.